cannot live a perfect day without doing something for someone who cannot repay you. Find something every day that you can do for someone who can give you nothing back. Do that one thing every day, and you will live a championship life.
This is Entrepreneurs the Playbook, where I give you access each week to the world's greatest athletes and executives about their personal and professional playbook and what has made them champions on and off the field. This is the Playbook. Hey, this is Dave Meltzer, CEO of Sports One Marketing, and I am here with an old friend. We have circled in the same circles, Don Yeager, author, 11-time New York Times bestseller, and an extraordinary life. And what makes you special to me is you wrote Warren Moon, my business partner's book, and Never Give Up, which is we'll have you sign. But, I want to get right into your playbook to success. And the reason is that one of the best things in my life is I've been able to ask questions of the world's best. You've been able to interview, not just ask questions, but write books for people like Warwick Dunn, Warren Moon, John Wooden, Michael Jordan. You have a book with an aggregate of the world's best. Tell me the similarities in the playbook to success of all the people that you've written books for. There has to be some sort of character or trait that is similar in all of them.
Sure, I'll give you two.
Good. Give
so
me as many as you want.
First,
this is all gold.
No, the first is that the truly great. One of the. So what happened was my father actually challenged me when I was coming out of college. He said, "You've chosen."
Ball State.
I did.
Dave
Ball State
Letterman
University.
School.
Gotta go fight Cardinals. and my father said, "You know what? You are going to get a chance as a journalist to sit eye to eye with some of the greatest of all time. Always ask them a question that will benefit you, something that you can learn from." So the question I settled in on was, if you could name one habit, something that allowed you to separate yourself from everybody else, what would that habit be? And the answer, the number one answer that came up was that the truly great love, that they hate losing more than they love winning. That winning is almost what they expect by walking, just walking out of the locker room, they expect to win. Failure at just about anything leaves a mark. It leaves them, they require a lesson from failure. And if they can't learn a lesson from it, then it truly is a loss. And so they're trying to avoid losses by taking lessons from everything that happens to them. So that single element came up over and over and over again. Failure's going to happen. What do you do with it? The truly great do something with it, while the rest of us are curled up on the couch, sulking and worried about the fact that we've now got to admit to others that we failed. The second one of those habits that came up, the number two habit, was the truly great understood the value of association. They knew that they were only as good as the people they put around themselves. And so they were always governing and bettering the circle of people around them. And that lesson, which I learned in a conversation the first time I learned it was in a conversation with John Wooden over breakfast at a little diner in Southern California. And
up
Vips,
on the 101.
right?
Vips,
exactly,
right?
And you've eaten there too
Every
with
day,
him,
yep,
right?
yeah.
And so Coach Wooden, I loved it. You ask him,
He was
how many
99
days?
or something?
99.
Oh.
And you ask him, Coach, how many days a week do you eat here? And he says, conservatively, 7. And but he drew two lines on a sheet of paper for me one day. He said, I want you to take the first column, and I want you to list out the 5 people you spend your most time with at work. Second column is in your personal life. Who are the 5 people you spend your most time with? And third column, you pick some other social organization, whether it's a philanthropy or a church or Kiwanis or something. But who are these people you give your time to? Because that's your inner circle. He said, then every day, when you finish that list, look at the list and go, are they going where I'm going?
Or where I want to be, right?
Right. If they're not going there, then, by the way, you need to scratch it from your list and find a new 5. And as you begin that journey, as you start governing more carefully who you have in that inner circle, you realize Coach Wooden was right. He said, you will never outperform your inner circle. And that became this real big guiding light for me, and one that I've heard over and over and over again from the truly great, that they recognize the importance of who they put in that circle, and they're vicious in the protection of that circle.
We've been blessed, both of us, because our inner circle has been infiltrated with the world's best, and it's changed my life because I think it's elevated my own vibration, its own expectation. And
I love the way you put that. By the way, I love the vibration concept, right? Like I mean that is right. You feel different in the presence of exceptionalism.
yeah, and you're more aware, because you only can be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you, and you can see the spirit of excellence, which is a vibration that these people have in all different walks of life. And John Wooden, my favorite thing, I think the ultimate respect, and I'm a huge pyramid of success guy. I knew Lee Brower, who did his capture 90-hour interview for his kids to learn what he knows. But the most extraordinary thing is we worked with Andrew Luck, Warren and I, and went up to Stanford for his senior day, and we're blessed with Whitfield to be the only 3 people on the field other than the players and the coaches. But when I was waiting for Andrew, I was in the cafeteria at Stanford. On the wall at Stanford University was the Pyramid of Success.
Think about that. That's the rival, right?
Exactly. Would there be a USC? You don't see John Robinson at Notre Dame,
right?
Right. No matter how great his concepts are,
right.
There's so many people you could pick. Being at Stanford as well, right? They could have put Kierkegaard up there, and the students still could have understood it,
right?
Right.
Yes.
But yet, they chose consciously to put that up there because of the power or how fast his concepts vibrated. Now, here's something that I've learned, and I want to see your take on it. The word consistency. I believe consistency allows persistency, and persistence is something you see in these guys. But do you see that as an overwhelming common trait where these guys, to me, are so consistent about their work ethic, about their performance, about their focus, and it's more than just they do it every single day, and it causes them problems later on in life because that obsessive behavior that makes them great, like a John Daly, it can go either way.
That's so true. And in fact, I think that later in the life, first off, your question, your premise is absolutely right. The consistency is what they believe. If you want to try to break it down into habits, the thing that I found encouraging when these 2,500 of them answered that question for me over a 25-year career,
wow,
was that what they came down to were habits that had nothing to do with their physical gift. That's what they believed made them special. Because the physical gift can come and go.
Right.
There's always somebody bigger, stronger, faster. Right?
Ray Lewis says.
But if you can, right? But if you can develop these intangibles, these habits, consistency, persistence, right? That willingness to surround yourself by the right people and govern those things. What encouraged me was that those are things I can work on. Those are things I will never have their physical gifts. I will never be that. But I can work to say, every day you can count on this from me. I will be this every day, and and every day I will bring this. And if people around me know that, then they are able to see in me a little bit of what I've gotten to see, like you, to see in others.
And it's interesting because we get to work with Hall of Famers in all sports. What I love about meeting Hall of Famers is that they're not the best physically or strongest, fastest of all the players of all time. You take Tony Gwynn, right? Or you take Joe Namath,
right?
Or Joe Montana, right? Or John Randall, right? Or Jerry Rice, right? Jerry Rice is nothing compared, to some of the other great wide receivers that have played,
exactly.
Like a John Jefferson,
right?
Physically, right? Unbelievable speed,
right.
But there's this different level of character that the best in the world possess. And it's beyond consistency and persistency. I believe, and I saw it in George Brett more than anyone, that there's this enjoyment of the pursuit of their potential. Right? It's beyond like pursuing their potential. There's this certain, like, they all have that hate to lose, like you, Joe Montana, they'd rather cut off their finger like Ronnie Lott than not even be able to play to win. Right? That's different. But there's this weird. I remember when George Brett signed his $6 million. We're old enough to know the $6 million man, the man barely alive. So that first $6 million man in baseball was a big deal. Right. That contract. And George Brett, who was partying with his brother, he turned to me and he's like, "Dave, don't tell anyone, but I do this shit for free." And he meant it.
Right.
Right.
No, it's what.
Where is that born or is it evolved?
I think it. Well, first off, the passion that it takes to. I actually was having this conversation yesterday with a friend of mine that, to be good, you have to enjoy what you want to do. To be great, you have to have passion for it. right? You have to have a passion for it. That is a passion that can endure all, right? And I think that's what you see there when you're talking about some of these extraordinary people. That, yeah, all those gifts. There are other people more gifted.
Yeah.
They just they had a they thought more consistently about what they were doing. They brought an energy to it. They had an enthusiasm that was contagious. They had characteristics that really kind of flowed around them that in business we would call soft skills, right?
Mhm.
But those soft skills added together gave them advantages that allowed them to outperform people with greater physical gifts.
And now, along with that comes responsibility. And once again, I hate to keep aging us, but there's been an evolution from traditional to digital, ubiquity of information.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost feel a little bit of guilt because I know the stories from 30 years ago, and I know the standard that the athletes and the exposure and privacy that they were given and taken.
Mm-hmm.
And today it's in a completely different ballgame,
Yeah.
and the profitability is different. But where do you see the responsibility today? As you look at what's happening with Coach Myers, or you're looking at certain players, it seems to have crossed, to me, so many different lines of what's humanly I'm not talking about what ethically is correct, because to me, ethics and morals are obvious,
Right.
right? If it's humanly capable, we should all make sure that we protect one another, right? And treat each other equally.
Table stakes.
It's
Simple
easy,
stuff. Right.
and I live by that the best that I can. But I look at the standard now of what athletes and coaches and celebrities are held to, as a human being, and say, gosh, my wife's dog's sister's dog walker knew this, and it's somehow I'm supposed to coach 118 18 to 22-year-olds to a national championship, and there's money. And do you think we need to swing the pendulum back a little bit farther on responsibility?
I think it's an interesting discussion and a legitimate debate. I'm not sure exactly where to land, but I will tell you that you're right. There is that we do now expect people where before all the expectations were, what do you know? Like what do you know and when did you know it?
Yeah.
And today it's, why did you not know it?
Right.
Is the third leg of that
Great
stool.
point.
And that leg can be the one that crushes you, right? That's the one that many people can't live up to. Why did you not know? What was it about the feelers that you had? And under that standard, most of the greats that we attribute to in history would suffer a different fate, right? They would look differently to most of us. But I think the greatest challenge in that is that, yeah, things are progressing, but I look at some things like digital, and I'm thinking, you get pitchers in the major leagues who are being challenged by things they posted when they were 18 years old. You know what? I get that. But here's the challenge. The lesson in that should be to all of us: beware every day what you post, because you have no idea where you'll be 5 years from now,
Yeah.
and what somebody might be looking to. Beware every day of how are we living? Are we living to a standard we would live to if we were playing in the major leagues? Would we post that today if our job was made? And
So interesting.
and I think a couple of those are legitimate points, but I do get your point that we have the standard keeps ratcheting up. You could argue the money keeps ratcheting up too, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully, as the risk is great, but the reward is as well.
Correct.
And if those two things um, continue to at least be in some alignment, maybe we can say it's anyway. That's
To that
I struggle a
point,
little bit with the same
we've been
question.
exposed to all these different people. Would you trade what you have compared to, because it's changed for me, my neophyte vision of all the greats, right? The Aikman, Moon, Young, Sabathia, Ramirez, Evander, all the greats that Leigh Steinberg had. When they became my friends, I shifted my opinion. Would you want to be in that? Would you like to have Michael Jordan's notoriety in life?
No,
Me
no,
neither.
yeah, no.
I would like to meet him and play back. You're one of 6 players that scored on Michael Jordan.
Right.
Tell me, just, I hate to switch because I agree with you on the no, and we don't have to go into too much detail
Yes.
because the cost is too much. But How did you score on Michael Jordan?
So it was
Let's get the real question. Come on.
Let's get to what
Look
really
at this
matters
guy.
here. There
He
you
scored
go.
on Michael Jordan.
Whoa.
Sorry.
You mean, look at this guy.
Well, you're
Do I need to
not
puff out
Dennis
my
Rodman.
chest?
Let's be fair.
He could have scored on Michael
Good
Jordan.
point.
Anyway,
Steve Kerr?
Yes. So Jordan does a one-on-one competition at a charity event that he hosts every year for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah.
And
Which you wrote a book for.
I did. And I'm honored to be on their national board. It's my charity. It's his. I love that. But he hosts this event, and he brings out 20 guys, normal guys, and he lets you go one-on-one with Michael Jordan. But it's the game to one. First guy to score wins, but Jordan starts with the ball. And so most guys go out and try to guard him, do things. I just decided, you know what, I wasn't going to let him dunk on me. So I actually stepped back, let him, and I made him take a jump shot. I was going to go with him wherever he went.
Test him, right.
And actually, he calls me out. There's a picture of him calling me out, going, "Are you really going to let me take this shot?" And I looked back and I said, "I don't think you have it in you," which was awesome.
Yeah.
You get to use the Gatorade commercial in your trash talking with Michael Jordan. So he misses his shot. I get the rebound. And while he's
That's even more
out,
surprising.
Yes.
To let you get the
Yes. So while he's, stepping out to guard me, he trash talking him. I said, "Aren't you going to return the favor? Like, be a bad defender like I was?"
Yeah. Give me a shot.
And he looks at me, and as he's talking to me, he says, "I know you don't have that shot in you. I took the shot, and I hit it from 26 feet.
Yeah.
Nothing but net right there."
Give
and
it
you
up.
know what? Exactly. And
That is awesome.
And I tell the story at least daily.
Did you get
at
on
least
video?
once a day.
Did you get on video?
So ironically, Nike was there shooting a commercial for him, and they had a camera guy out there. So the second it's over, I run to the camera guy, and I'm like going, "Dude, I gotta have whatever
it
you want,
takes,
I'll
right.
pay
I
you
need
for that
that.
video." And he said, "To your point, I looked at you when you walked out, and I thought this guy had no chance of scoring."
Yes.
He said, "So I was shooting video, and I have the video." He said, "But I was shooting of Jordan's foot, the shoe that he was wearing." Now you can hear the crowd, you can see me jumping for joy because he flashes up afterward. But no, the actual video of
And back
the
then, not
shot,
many people had cell phone cameras, right?
But there were 100 guys that were sitting there, and they know my story.
And the
which is
story's
awesome.
true,
Yes.
which is great.
Yes,
That
it's
is
the
awesome.
best. And Jordan still gives me Jordan's still not a fan for the fact that I tell that story so often.
I always have an advice question, and give me the best advice any of these guys have ever given you.
So the best advice probably came from Walter Payton. I had the opportunity to live with Walter for the last 10 weeks of his life and write his autobiography as he was dying. And while working with Walter, he said, "You know what? There's a lot you can work on professionally. You can try to achieve all these things." He said, but do yourself a favor, and this plays into your philosophy about philanthropy, and you and I were talking about that earlier. He said, "You cannot live a perfect day." He quoted John Wooden when he told me this.
Of course.
He said, "You cannot live a perfect day without doing something for someone who cannot repay you." He said, "Find something every day that you can do for someone who can give you nothing back. Do that one thing every day, and you will live a championship life."
That's awesome.
And I love that idea that, you know what, I'm in the conversation with maybe the greatest running back of all time, in my opinion. Like, I think he's the greatest.
Yeah.
Other people could debate it. And in the conversation about how to be great, you want to talk to me about how to live a life for others. And I thought that's pretty cool.
That's really cool. My prayer every morning is, may God put 10 people in front of me that I can help. And my favorite piece of advice is from Leigh Steinberg, which was very similar, but be kind to your future self. Right? It's every place, person, thing that you see, think about how kind you are, whether it's putting trash in the trash can, holding a door open, or helping someone that's helpless.
Be kind to your future.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement. Last question as we get, we'll do this again because this is one of my favorite episodes, man. It's awesome. And he promised me, by the way, that I'll be his 12th New York Times bestseller. When he reveals my real story, forget Walter Payton, forget Michael Jordan. This is the real story. It's sad and true, but also funny. Last question. All the things that you've learned, all the things you get to do, and you're only halfway done at minimum. What legacy do you want to leave behind?
So I'm a late in life dad. I became a dad at 45. So I have a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. And legacy used to be all about number of books or this or that. Now it's nothing but that. I mean, I look at them every day, and we talk every day about what I hope for them. And that's where it all, to me, that's it. I can't even, if I leave behind in this world 2 young people who live out the things I've been lucky enough to learn. If they live it out because they saw it in me, not because I told them, but because they saw it, then shoot, money's irrelevant. Records are irrelevant. Um, that will be that will be it for me.
I think that's a great script to end on. I got 4 children of my own, and from 8 to 19, so I got one late in life, and there's nothing better than energy, creating more energy. You're empowering others, your children, to empower others with the way that you acted, and it's been an incredible journey just having you here for the short amount of time. And we're going to do this again. I'm going to read more of your books. There's a couple I didn't know that you had written, and I'm really interested in. But what an honor to be here. This is what Entrepreneur, the Playbook, is about, understanding the playbook to success. And I think we got a lot of plays today that have come from some of the world's great, but transcoded and articulated by a genuine philanthropist and good person, Don Yeager. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneur, the Playbook.